Thank you all for putting this together, but also the panelists. It's been so amazing to hear all of you and to know that we are all truly in this together, because some of these sentences could have been coming out of my mouth from all of you. So that's been really wonderful. So I'm Robynn Smith. I'm an artist in Santa Cruz area. And like so many of us in March 2020, I had an enormous professional itinerary planned for spring and summer, international travel, shows, symposium, blah, 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 blah. And of course, everything disappeared in an instant. And I had a really tough time adjusting to it. I think many, many artists did. Millions of people everywhere were crafting, but artists just couldn't work. And it was this crazy irony. People kept telling me, oh, you're so lucky, you can still practice your craft, you can still do your work. But I really couldn't. I was too disrupted, too unmoored. My sense of time was completely skewed. Dreams were terrible, all of this that everybody's been talking about. But eventually I did begin working on both paintings and prints. I tend to do both. I work in both media. And the piece here that is part of, that is called August, it's part of a series of about 24 lino cut prints with collage that were done late in the summer, in August. So we can go to the next slide, please. My work, these are more pieces from this series, from the August series. My work typically examines the aesthetics of catastrophe, humanities, choices, and repeated mistakes. And I would say that the colossal catastrophe of the coronavirus is directly related to the destruction of our environment and our collective disregard for social justice. So this August series began as a response to the 2019-2020 Australian fire season. But as the entire San Francisco Bay Area seemed to go up in flames, and we were forced indoors with no relief from our shelter-in-place isolation, the series of 24 unique prints morphed and changed every day. Eventually, it became a response to the US government's response to the Portland protests. It became also a response to the CZU Lightning Complex fire, our collective terrors, and my personal response to the month of August 2020. So we can go to the next slides, please. These are mixed media paintings, and I work typically fairly large on these, about 4 feet tall, 3 feet wide. These were done in June and July. The paintings are carved, painted, and collaged onto wood panels. The media includes casein pigments, polymer transfers, gesso, asphalt, and some found objects. It's typical for me to work in both my paintings and my prints from images collected 3 months to 3 years before I begin a series. So these pieces came from photos I had already been collecting in my travels before the pandemic. But as I worked on the paintings, I became aware of how much our present circumstances were affecting the work. So what's going on with this ship? Is it stuck? Is it moving? What kind of time frame is it in? The text in the work is a list of items buried in a time capsule at the New York World's Fair in 1964. Asbestos tiles, carrots, Harper's Bazaar magazine. In 1964, could we have imagined the circumstances of the year 2020? Face masks, apocalyptic fires, Trump? I don't think so. And then in the other piece, which is called Green River, this duck is swimming through New York Harbor, trying to protect her ducklings, and she's surrounded by text from the Declaration of Independence and the 1948 Declaration of Human Rights. We are still not living these words all these years later. The paintings and the prints are studded with beautiful passages that provide counterpoint to these troubling questions. Just as in the horrors of COVID time, there is beauty. Daily walks on calm streets that many of us have spoken about, streets devoid of cars, which is just stupendous. Seasons change and offer their miracles. At first, being at home for all this time, not collecting new images from my travels, not traveling, had me nervous and concerned about imagery for new work. But I've embarked on a new series of paintings using imagery I've collected in my shelter in place life throughout this past year, since the pandemic began. And it is a rich trove: the ocean, burned out forests, seabirds, disease, horses, flowers, politics. I'm right in the middle of it. I'm starting all my drawings for the series. I start everything by drawing before I make any paintings or prints. And I've got wood in the corner waiting to be rabbit skin glued and drawn on and carved. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to do this work, and I'm also excited to get out and hug friends and have a dinner party, see my father, everything everybody's been talking about. So thank you very much.